Hey friend, hope you're having a great day so far. As always, I'm Dave from Dave the Spreadsheet Guy, and in this video we're going to go through our introduction to calculations. So if you're new to Excel, then calculations in Excel will be relatively new to you as well. But calculations are a fundamental, a cornerstone if you like, of putting a spreadsheet together, unless you're creating lists or something like that. Okay, so in this video we're going to go through sums, averages and counts. Now, if you want to work alongside us in this video, you can always head over to davethespreadsheetguy.com at the top here, and in our download section you'll find this worksheet that we're working on. There's also a link in the description, so that'll make it nice and quick and easy for you to go and find the worksheet. Anyway, let's crack on with this. So, first up we're going to look at sums. Okay, so I've called these static sums, you'll see why in a little while. But the easiest calculations you can do are the basic plus, minus, multiply and divide calculations, where you're just taking raw numbers and either adding them, subtracting them, multiplying them or dividing them. Okay, so let's first look at addition. So the formula that we want to use looks like this. So it's just a simple equals 10 plus 10. Now any calculation that you do in Excel, or any formula for that matter, must always start with an equal sign. The equal sign, as we can see here, is your way of telling Excel that you want to do a calculation or put some sort of formula together. Okay, if you don't put the equal sign in, it will just think you're typing words in and won't do anything with it. Your calculations won't work. So if I was to type in here a simple 10 plus 10 and hit enter, it wouldn't give me the answer I wanted. It would just say 10 plus 10 because that's a word as far as Excel is concerned. However, if we look at what we've got in the orange cell here and replicate it in the green, so equals 10 plus 10, and hit the enter button, you'll see we get 20, which is the correct answer. So by putting that equals, up here we can see in the formula bar, by putting that equals in front of our 10 plus 10, Excel now knows that we want to do a calculation. Okay, so let's repeat that process for a subtraction. So we're going to do equals 10 minus 10. And that gives us a 0, so it's going well so far. Excellent stuff. Now, the plus sign and the minus sign look like what you probably learnt in your maths lessons at school. However, the multiplication is slightly different. If you were to put 10 x 10, like you would write 10 times 10, into Excel, that won't work. So the multiplier sign in Excel is this asterisk sign at the top here, which you can get by using Shift and 8 on the keyboard. Or if you've got number pad on the keyboard, on the right hand side it should be just above the 9. Anyway, let's type that in there. So equals 10 times 10. That then gives us 100, which is the correct answer. And we are getting good at this now, yeah? Okay, finally, division. Now it's not the typical divide sign either, but the slash can be used outside of Excel to mean division. So let's go in the green box and let's do equals 10 divided by 10, and that'll give us 1, which is the correct answer. So from here we can see that if you want to do a calculation in Excel, you need to use the equal sign at the very start, and then we've got the different operators, so plus, minus, asterisk for multiply, and the slash for divide, and that will let you basically do calculations that you want to do. Okay, so what we notice is that we're using hard numbers, raw numbers. We're not using any references or anything like that. So if we were to want to change the answer here, the 20 answer, we would have to go into this formula, and change one of these values. Now that's all good and well, but it's going to take you a bit of time if you've got 100 calculations on the go. So moving on to dynamic sums, these are static. Moving on to dynamic sums, you'll see how we do that. Okay, so we've got two numbers in this example. Okay, we've got a first number, which we've got as 10, and we've got a second number, which is also 10. Okay, I've got a helpful tip in there as well. That'll help if you're not watching this video, which you are, which is kind of weird. Okay, so what we're going to do the same sums again. We're going to do an addition, a subtraction, a multiplication and a division. But instead of typing 10 into our formula, we're going to make reference to this cell here with a 10 in it, and this cell here with a 10 in it. Okay, so let's go again with our addition. So we're going to do equals, but instead of typing 10 like that, we're going to click on that 10 there. Okay, and you'll see it's referenced cell D55. Okay, so column D, row 55. Okay, and then we're going to do a plus, and we're going to add what's in D55 to this cell here, H55. So we click on there, and you'll see we've got a formula at the top here now, equals D55 plus H55. Now if I hit enter, you'll see we get the answer that we had previously, 20, which is 10 plus 10. So let's repeat the process for the subtraction. So equals, click on the 10, minus the 10. So you see our formula bar appears with the formula in it. Now the formula bar is where you'll see any calculations that you do in Excel. Okay, that's where it ends up. And then when we press the enter button, we get the answer of 0. Again, we're going to repeat this for multiplication. So equals, click on the first number, asterisk for multiply, and then click on the second number and hit the enter button. And finally we've got division. So again, you know what we're going to do, we've done that enough times here. We're going to hit the equals button for the calculation. We're going to click on the first number. Now what if you forget to put divide in, or plus, or multiply, or subtract, and click on the second number? It basically just treats the second number as the first number in your formula. Okay, so without your operator after this D55, it'll just think you're clicking on another cell. Okay, so you need that operator in there between your first number and your second number. So D55, we're going to do a divide, or a slash, and then click on the second number. Brilliant. Okay, so Dave, what's the difference between what we've done here and what we've done up here? Well, you remember I said that if you wanted to change any of these numbers, you had to go into the formula directly and do it. Well, the difference with this dynamic sum is that because you've got the numbers up here that you've referred to, as opposed to referring to the numbers in the actual formula, if I was to change this number to say 100 and hit enter, you'll see our sums down here have updated to reflect the new value that's been entered into this cell. So if I was to change this to 5, you see again, our calculations update. So the benefit, if we've got say 100 calculations here, is that we only have to change the data in one place, as opposed to going into each individual formula and changing what it says up here in the formula bar. Okay, so when you're doing sums, it's always better to do this dynamic method. If you're new to it though, I would suggest practicing this as much as possible, just so you're comfortable with it, because once you've got this laid out and sorted out and done, then we can then move on to the more advanced calculations. Okay, so let's take what we've done above and apply this to a real life situation. Okay, so we've got a guy, Don the Butcher. He wants to order some more stock for his shop. Okay, he's started a spreadsheet, but he needs help in calculating how much this order, this meat order that he's made, will cost. And he wants to know how much future orders will cost as well if he wants to use this spreadsheet again in the future. So we need to finish the spreadsheet off for him by adding a calculation to the green cells, which works out the cost of his stock order. Okay, so we've also got here, please bear in mind that Don will use this spreadsheet for future orders where the prices and quantities may vary. Okay, so because you've got variable prices and quantities going forward, that stresses the need maybe for a dynamic formula where we reference cells, as opposed to a static formula where Don has to type in the numbers each time. So let's get cracking with this. So we know what the stock is, not really relevant to this bit. We know how much he's ordering in terms of quantity, and we know the cost per item. So we need to put a calculation in these green cells to give him an idea of how much it's going to cost. So we click in our first green cell, and we're going to do an equals because we're going to do a calculation. Okay. Now to work out the cost of his sausages, we're going to take the quantity required, so 150, we're going to multiply that using the asterisk. We're going to multiply that by the cost per sausage in this case. So we click on the second cell. When we hit the enter button, you'll see we get £37.50, which is 150 times by 25 pence. Okay, let's repeat that for burgers and the gammon joint. They should both work in exactly the same way. So we're going to do equals, we're going to click on our first number, we're going to multiply that with an asterisk by 20 pence. That cell there. Hit the enter button and we get £30, and the burgers are spot on. There we go. Okay, final formula, we're going to do an equals, we're going to multiply 30 gammon joints with an asterisk by £3.99, the cost per gammon joint. I'm not sure if these are real costs or not, these are just numbers I threw together, but hey, that's a good example, right? Hit the enter button, and we've got £119.70. Okay, it's a nice gammon joint, there you go. Okay, and then to add up these three numbers, we're going to do equals. Now we're going to do this the long way, but I'm going to show you the quicker way in a couple of steps. So we're going to click equals, we're going to click on the first number, we're going to do a plus, we're going to click on the second number, we're going to do a plus, we're going to click on the third number, and there you go, there are three numbers. Okay, we're going to hit the enter button, and that's going to give us £187.20. Congratulations, you have just completed your first spreadsheet project. Don now has a functional stock order sheet and is very happy. There you go. So, if you followed that through with this, guys, and you worked the example with your downloaded worksheet, well done. If you got £187.20, fantastic. So going forward, if the price of sausages goes up to 29 pence, so we put 0.29, you'll see that the total cost there with our dynamic formula has updated to £43.50. Okay, and as a result, this grand total price has increased as well. So that's a dynamic formula, that's how you apply it in a real life situation. Okay, moving down, there is a formula for adding things up. It's the equals sum formula. Okay, so now we've mastered the basic calculation steps of addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. Let's go for equals sum. So we've got a list of numbers here, okay, numbers 1 to 10, and we want to add these up in a list. Now we could do what we've done previously. We could type equals, and then we could click on each individual number and add it up. But if you've got a massive list of numbers, you're going to be there for quite some time adding these numbers up. So the best way to do it is using the equals sum formula. Okay, so we're going to take our calculations a step further. Again, we're going to use the equals button, because we always use that. However, instead of just clicking on a cell like we did previously, we're going to type the word sum. Okay, and then we're going to open a bracket. Now, when you do formulas, because sum is a formula, when you use formulas, you always do an equals first. You put the name of the formula that you're using, so sum in this case, and then to tell Excel that you want to start the sum formula, you do an open bracket, or shift and 9 if you like. Okay, that then tells Excel that we're doing an equals sum formula. You'll see up here it suggests we want number 1, number 2, number 3. That's okay if you want to click each individual number, separate it with a comma, and add it up. But that doesn't really put us any further forward than what we would have been doing if we would have just done equals and then lots of adds. So the best way to sum up a list, sorry if I'm rambling on, is instead to click on the first number of the list, hold the left mouse button down, and then drag to the bottom of the range of numbers. Okay, and you'll see there in the formula bar, instead of having F113 plus F114 plus F115, etc., we've got a range which goes from F113 to F122. Okay, so it's going to sum all the numbers within that range of cells. You finish off the formula by doing a close bracket or shift and 0, and then that formula should give you the right answer of 55. Okay, and that is a nice summed list. Brilliant. Okay, and it also works with sideways lists. So instead of going top to bottom, if we wanted to go, I've already got the answer in there. If we wanted to go equals sum, which is the formula name, and then open bracket, instead of clicking the list from top to bottom, we're going to go from left, so we hold the left mouse button down and we drag across to the right, let go of the mouse button and then do a close bracket, and then this range will be added up when we hit the enter button, like so. Okay, so equals sum is good for adding up lists. There is a quicker way to sum up a list where the numbers are all together, and that's by using something called auto sum. Okay, there's two ways of getting at that. Let's delete these numbers out and we'll show you. If you click in the cell where you want the sum to be, okay, now in the home ribbon up here, make sure that's selected, and then over to the right in the editing section, you've got this little sigma sign or the sum sign. Okay, if you click on this little downwards arrow here and click on sum, it will automatically suggest a range that you want to sum up. Okay, that's auto sum. So wherever it detects a series of numbers next to the cell that you want the answer to be in, it will give you a suggested range. And then all you need to do is click on equals, or tap on equals on the keyboard, sorry. Oh dear Dave, sort it out. And you get the same answer as if you would have done the sum manually. Okay, there is a quicker way still. Instead of having to navigate up here to this sigma button, if you hold down the Alt button to the left of your spacebar on your keyboard, and then press the equals button, that will also do the auto sum function. Just a nice little shortcut there for you. Okay, and then when you press enter, you get the answer underneath your numbers. Let's try the Alt equals again here. So we click in this cell, we hold Alt down, press the equals button, and you'll see Excel has automatically detected this range of numbers to the left, and it's put the suggested formula in the formula bar. Okay, so then all we've got to do is hit the enter button, and there's your answer. Okay, so that's the equals sum formula and the auto sum function as well. Okay, handy if you've got a list of cells that you want to add up the values. Okay, we're going to move on to slightly more complex calculations now. Okay, so we're still going to use the equals sum formula, but sometimes when you add things up and multiply things, you want to do certain operations separately. So you want to add two numbers together before you multiply that sum by another number. And that's what we're going to do in this slightly more complex situation. Okay, here we've got two quantities, quantity A and quantity B. We want to take these two numbers and add them together, and then whatever the sum of that is, we want to multiply it by this price here. This is what the formula should look like. Okay, so we're going to go into the green box and we're going to replicate this formula just to show you how it works. So what we did above, we did equals and then sum, and then we opened our brackets. Okay, and the brackets are really important here. You'll see why in just a second. We're going to take this quantity by clicking on it. We're going to use an add, and then we're going to add that to this number. Now, this is where we close our brackets. Okay, so if we were to hit enter now, we would just get the sum of what's in this cell, B150, plus what's in this cell, D150. However, we still want to multiply this by the price. So if we then do a asterisk to multiply, that then says take the sum of these two numbers together and then multiply it by this figure here, 599, or whatever's in cell F150. Okay, at that point you can hit the enter button and it'll give you the right answer, which is £599. Okay, so that formula is a good way of separating off certain calculations before you undertake the next calculation. Okay, so now that we've covered off calculations and sums, hopefully you'll be a bit more familiar with them now and can go and have a go yourselves. We're going to move on to averages. Okay, now averages, in terms of the average formula, relate to the mean average. There are separate formulas for the mode and the median. However, in this example, we're going to look at the mean average. Okay, so an average is basically the average of a set of numbers. So this example here, Dave's been out on the golf course again, playing badly. Yeah, true story. Okay, I played 4 rounds of golf, and in each of the rounds I had the following scores. So we want to know what the average score per round is. So the way we're going to get around this, pardon the pun, we're going to take the sum of these values and we're going to divide it by 4, because that's how many rounds there were. Okay, now we could do it the way we've done before, using our equals sum formula. So we could do equals sum, open brackets, you see our formula at the top here, and then we could add up these 4 numbers, close our brackets, and then we could do a divide by 4, because 4 is the number of rounds. Okay, and that would work. If we hit the enter button, you'll see we get an average score of 98, which indeed is, if we select these, you'll see down the bottom here, the average is shown as 98 at the bottom of the screen. Okay, when you select a range of numbers, you do get some stats down the bottom here as well. So you've got the max, the min, the sum, and the average, and the count. But if you right click here, you can actually put in different things that you want to see, so we can have a numerical count if you like. Anyway, moving on. So we've got our number there doing it the way we've just learned. However, we can use the equals average formula. Okay, and that's as simple as typing into our box equals, and then we type the word average. Okay, that's what the formula is called. And then like we did for the sum formula, we're going to do an open bracket, see up here in our formula bar, as we did. So you can see a common theme running amongst these formulas. You do an equals, you do the function name, and then you do an open bracket. That tells Excel that you're ready to start putting in the numbers that you want to average up. So all we've got to do now, as we did for the sum, is select our 4 numbers and then close our brackets. So looking at this formula, it will then do an average of the numbers within the range C183 to C186, which is this blue range here. You'll notice as well that this group of cells here is highlighted with a blue border, which corresponds up to the blue colour that you'll see in the formula bar at the top here. Okay, so when you've got your average formula done, if you hit the enter button on the keyboard, you'll see there again we get 98, which is the same as the answer we calculated manually up above. Okay, so that's the average formula. Again, there is a quicker way to do it. We saw auto sum was used with sum. There is an auto average function as well. So if I delete that number out of there, without typing anything in, if I go again to the home ribbon at the top here, and then on the right in the editing section, if I click on the little down arrow next to the sigma sign, there it is, and click on average, it will then take the range. It doesn't matter that it's included that blank cell, that won't affect the calculation at all. But it's found this range of numbers, and it says, yeah, are these the ones you want to average up? Which they are. So if we're happy with that, we hit the enter button, and there you go, 98, the same answer as we got previously. So that's how to do an average in Excel. The average formula comes in handy, so go away, give it a crack, try some different examples. You'll see again here if we change numbers up, so if I made that 100, you'll see the average updates. So again, it is a dynamic formula, and it will change with the numbers that are input into it. Okay. So now we've done averages and we've done sums and basic calculations. Let's move on to counts. Okay, so counts are where you want to add up the number of instances. Let me explain that a little bit better. So you're going to use the count formula when you've got a list of entries and you want to see how many entries there are. So whereas we did sum, it would add up these numbers, and where we did average, it would average out these numbers. Count will tell you how many numbers are in this list. Okay, that's the simplest way I can explain it. But count only works on numbers and dates. Okay, so you'll notice in here we've got some monetary amounts. We've got a random bit of text in here, a word, and then we've got 2 other numerical amounts there as well. Okay, so the count formula should in theory count just these 2, 3, and these 2 here. It should ignore the word. So let's give that a little try. With any formula, again, we're going to type the equals button. And in this instance, we're going to choose count as our formula name. And then you open your bracket. So again, you see we've got equals, we've got the formula name, and we've got an open bracket. Excel now knows that we're ready to start putting values in. So if we left click on this top cell, hold the mouse button down and drag to the very bottom, and then we close our brackets, when we hit the enter button, you'll see that it's counted 5, okay? So it's counted the numerical values, but it hasn't counted this text value here, okay? And that's the way count works. It counts numbers and dates. Okay, but Dave, what if I want to count words? Well, you know, that's where we move on to the next formula in our list. You might also be thinking, Dave, you know, I can easily see that there's 5 numerical values in our list. That's great, but like I've put here, what if there were 5,000 transactions? You know, are you really going to spend half your day counting up a list of transactions and probably get halfway and lose count and have to start again? The count formula is working for you here, okay? It's a nice simple way of adding up the number of entries in a list. So if we wanted to count up names, i.e. non-numeric, non-date entries, we'd use the count A formula, okay? So it works in a similar way to count, but count A can handle any entry. It will handle numbers, it will handle dates, it will handle text, anything you can add into Excel, it should count up. Okay, so let's count how many names are in this list. Now quite easily we can see that we've got 6 entries, so the count should be 6. But again, if it was 6,000 in the list, it would be quite hard to count all those up in a short space of time and do it accurately. So we're going to go for equals and start our formula. We're going to type our formula name in, which is count A. We're going to open our brackets, and as before, we're going to hold the left mouse button down in the top entry, and then we're going to select the list down to the bottom. Then we close our brackets, so you can see our formula up here, count A, and then the range, the blue range which relates to this blue range. And then when we hit the enter button, brilliant stuff. So we can now see that there are 6 entries in that list. But again, it could have been 6,000, could have been 600,000. So the count A formula takes out the hard work of having to count up individual entries. Okay, there's one final count formula, and that's called the count blank formula, which will count the number of blank entries within a selection. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, Dave, what sort of value could we get from counting blanks in a list? Well, let's apply that to a real life situation, and I'll show you how count blank works. Now Hillary, she's running a course on flower arrangement. Okay, Hillary loves a bit of flower arrangement, and 10 people are scheduled to come along to this course. The course starts at 9 AM, so at 8:58 AM, Hillary's running around frantic, wanting to know how many people are yet to arrive. When can she start? So we've got a registration list down here with all the names of the people who are going to come on this course. Okay, and we've got a yes or blank telling us whether or not these delegates have arrived. So Hillary wants to know how many people haven't arrived. Now you could again sit here and count up the blanks, 1, 2, 3, 4. But if there were 1,000 people in this list, or 10,000, then it's going to be slightly more difficult to work out how many people haven't turned up yet. So the way we get around this is by using the count blank formula, which will count the blank cells in a selection. So we click in our green cell. Again, we do an equals. You should be quite familiar with how formulas work by now. We do count blank. Okay, and then we open our brackets. So that same old formula, that same old layout that we've used before, equals the formula name, and then the open bracket there. Okay, and then we just select the range that we want to look at. So hold the left mouse button down on the top entry, drag all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so let's put our range in there in blue. You see how these ranges work now with the colour coding. That's always quite handy. It gives you a nice visual as to what you're counting up. And then finally we close this off with a closed bracket and hit the enter button. Okay, so there you can see the count blank formula has found 4 blanks in this range as we counted previously. Okay, so that's the count blank formula. Right, let's move on to the final exercise. Alrighty my friend, well, if you've made it this far, congratulations, and let's go through the final exercise. Now this will take the items that we've learnt above and just apply them to another real world scenario. Okay, so for the final exercise we're going to look at Bob's Gym. Now, Bob's got this gym, and he's got a list of members. They all pay a monthly fee, different monthly fees depending on what sort of access they have. He can record their monthly visits, and he can record any extra purchases that they make on top of their monthly fee. Okay, so using this information that we have here, we want to do some analysis for Bob so that he can understand a bit more about his gym, his members, and what they do on a monthly basis. So first off, we want to use a sum formula to calculate the total monthly fees paid by the members, not including extra purchases. Okay, simple enough. You remember we did our sum calculation, so we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to go for an equals, and then sum, and then open brackets. Actually, before I go any further, if you've got this worksheet open and you want to pause the video and have a little crack just to try and apply what you've learnt in the video, get involved, and then after you've done that, press the play button again and work through and see if we get to the same sort of result. If you don't want to do that and keep watching the video, then don't press pause. Excellent. Anyway, back to the sum. Sorry, I get sidetracked so easily. So we've done a sum to calculate the total monthly fees, not including extra purchases. So we've done equals sum open brackets, and now we're just going to add up this section of data here, this monthly fee. There you go, and we're at the bottom. Close our brackets, and that should give us £490, which is the right answer. Okay, next, using a count formula, calculate the total number of members at Bob's gym. Okay, now if we added up this column, it would give us the total number of visits, but Bob's actually after the total number of members. So this is our list of members, and notice it's not a numerical value, it's not a date. So the formula that we need to use isn't the equals count formula, it's the equals count A formula. Okay, so we'll do an equals count A and open our brackets, and then we simply select the names in the list, hold the left mouse button down, drag it to the bottom, and then we close our brackets, and that gives us 17. Great stuff, it's the right answer. Okay, brilliant. Next up, we want to use an average formula to calculate the average monthly visits per member at Bob's gym. Now, in layman's terms, that's basically an average of this monthly visits column here. Okay, so we click in our cell, we do equals average, open our brackets, and then we click on the top cell, hold the left mouse button down, and drag to the bottom. With our range selected, we do the close brackets, and then hit the enter button. Good answer. Okay, so that's good. So it's not come out as a nice clean number, it has come out as a decimal, but Excel can handle decimals. Quite a few decimal places Excel can take. So you're not always going to get a round number when you do an average. Sometimes you're going to get decimals, but there are rounding functions that we can use in Excel, but we'll cover those off in a separate video. Okay, so now we've got the average sorted out there. Let's move on to the next step. We're using a sum formula to calculate the total monthly income paid by the members, including extra purchases. Okay, so remember this sum we did at the top here, it excluded this extra purchases column. But what we're going to do here, we're going to add two sum formulas together. Now I haven't covered that very clearly up above, but if you managed to get the right answer, if you paused the video and did the exercise, then well done, that's brilliant. But we're going to go through how to do that now. So click in our cell, as we've just done. We start the formula with an equals, that's always the way. Then we're going to do a sum, open our brackets, and we're going to add this column up as one sum. Okay, and with that range selected, we're going to close our brackets like we normally do. But instead of hitting the add button, instead of hitting the enter button, we're going to hit the add button. Okay, and then we're going to do another sum. So you'll see here we've got a sum formula at the top here. Now when you put a formula into Excel, it doesn't have to be one dimensional. You don't have to do one formula at a time. You can string formulas together. So if we've got two sums that we're doing and we're joining them with an add, then it makes sense. It works out for Excel. So we've got the blue column added up here. Let's now select our second column after we've done our equals sum bracket. And you'll see here the numbers here are red, which corresponds to this red column here. Okay, so that visual aspect of Excel really helps when you're identifying what you're trying to add up. Okay, with our second range selected, we close our brackets. So you'll see there we've got a sum of the monthly fee column, and we've got a sum of the extra purchases column, and we've joined those two sums together with a plus sign. When we hit the enter button, we get £562.50, which is correct. Okay, you can validate that by selecting this data, holding down the control button, and then selecting this second column. And down the bottom here, you'll see in the little summary bit, you'll see it says sum 562.50, which corresponds back to the answer from our formula. Okay, so moving on to the fifth element here, using an average formula, calculate the average monthly fee per member. Okay, so we're going to want an average formula here, and we're just going to average up this monthly fee column here. Okay, so we're going to do equals average and open our brackets, and then we're simply going to select the monthly fee column like so. Then we're going to close our brackets off and hit the enter button. There you go. So there's an average monthly fee per member of £28.82. Okay, brilliant. So this is the final question. Using a sum formula, calculate the total monthly visits by the members at Bob's Gym. God, I struggle to get my words out then. You'll notice when I'm recording these videos as well, I'm not going for absolute perfection. I'm teaching this, I'm showing you guys this as I speak, as I work through. It's going to flow. There's sort of a script because I'm following this worksheet, but at the same time, it's got to come out natural, as if I'm sitting right next to you, showing you how to do a spreadsheet. Okay, so anyway, moving on. So we're looking at the total monthly visits by the members of Bob Gym. So all we've got to do is a sum, where we're going to add up this monthly visits column here. So we do equals sum, open our brackets up, and then we select the monthly visits information like so. We close our brackets, and then we hit the enter button. There you go, 152 visits over the course of the month. So we've answered all of Bob's questions correctly, and as you can see at the bottom, congratulations, you have successfully completed our introduction to calculations. A great first step into mastering spreadsheets. Cool, so I think that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've learnt something from it. If you've got any feedback, then please feel free to leave us a comment in the description. You can obviously see the links in the description to our Twitch account, our Discord account, so if you want to come and discuss something with us in the chat room, come and join us on Discord. If you want to view our streams, go check us out on Twitch. Come to the Facebook page as well. We're going to put all these videos up on the Facebook page, so if you want to drop some comments on there, then feel free. Cool, and that's about it. So until next time, guys, have yourselves a great day, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.